So thank you for all for joining us tonight. We have lots of MBA international students, MSc international students, and it was a very strong will for us to do this conference in English, because for foreigners, it's very hard to understand the administrative procedures here in France. And because all of you are students at the Pôle Léonard de Vinci, I'm sure your level of English is great and you will understand everything about this conference. And if you do not understand everything, of course, you can send me an email at the end of the presentation and ask me any questions, and I will give my email in the chat at the end of the presentation. So thank you all for being here. And tonight we are welcoming Diana. So welcome. You work as a head of business development at French Connection. You have a micro entrepreneur status, which you will tell us everything about it. And you are from Austria.
No, I'm Hungarian, but it's almost next door.
Sorry, my bad. So you are from Hungary, great country. I've been there and I very liked it. And
good.
International students for their administrative procedures and also for their business creation in France.
I am helping, yes, indeed.
Great, so you will tell us everything about it during the interview. Franck Dupont, which is a star at the Pôle because he's an alumni of ESILV, the engineering school. And he starts lots of company, worked for the family, have many startups. Now he's in the Pays Basque, in the south of France. And he helps people test their idea and build their MVP. So welcome.
Exactly.
Welcome. And then we have Eric Lucrecia, or Jonathan, who is American, and he built a startup in France, which is Candidate Coach, and he helps people, he helps candidates enhance their profile to find opportunities. So welcome.
Thank you. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
can.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we can.
Yes. Okay, great. Hi, everyone.
You are in the US currently?
Yeah, I'm in New York, in Long Island, New York.
Great, because I can see it's daytime at your place and not here in France.
Exactly.
So welcome. So as a first question, it would be great for our students if you could introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about your background before becoming an entrepreneur or a micro-entrepreneur. So I'll hand over to Diana. Can you tell us a bit more about your background, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So I prior to become a micro entrepreneur, I spent about 12 years in education. So I was working for different business schools from France to US to China, actually all around the world. I was mainly focusing on helping students as a recruitment director to find the best place. Well, of course, I know all of you are in the best place right now, but we were doing that before differently. And then after I changed into sustainability, I was very much interested about, not just helping the people and the students, but also how we can help the environment in general. And then after that, I became really an entrepreneur. And then today I'm working in relocation, helping different nationalities from all around the world to come to France to settle in here. And as part of settling, also how they can become an entrepreneur and how they can build a micro-entrepreneurship or their company here in France. So in a nutshell, that would be it.
So if you have any question about procedures and everything, Diana has a great experience in higher education domain. Franck, can you tell us a bit more about your background, even though I introduced it already?
Absolutely. I'm 29. I'm born in France, in Paris. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. I was good at mathematics and science in general. So I studied in engineering school in ESILV, actually. So in Pôle Léonard de Vinci. During the first years, I was pretty sure that I really didn't want to take a traditional engineering student path. 5 years at school, a job in a big multinational technology and consulting bank company like BNP or Accenture or even Apple, just because during my very first internship in Capgemini, I was sick of all these meetings all the time. Things never seems to move forward. I was very frustrated about that, like really. So I was quite interested by entrepreneurship at school. I spent my last year doing an entrepreneurship master with EMLV, so the management school of the Pôle Léonard de Vinci. Actually, I was disappointed about this year because my professors explained that I need to write business plans all the day to make some marketing studies to protect my brand, my ID, etc. And after all of that, maybe I could hope to sell something. So I realized that maybe something is going wrong. So I went to YouTube and watching some entrepreneurship videos, and I came across a video of Oussama Amar, CEO of the family, and I realized that I was totally aside the great mindset of entrepreneur. All my professors were all over 40 years old, and they all started over 10 years ago. So I realized that by consuming these videos, I learned that today, thanks to internet, we can sell before create, and that's the point. This is a game changer for me. So after school, I worked at the family for 2 years to learn about all of that. I talked with a lot of entrepreneurs. I understood a lot of things. This was absolutely amazing, actually. And then I started to create my own companies in 2017. Yeah, now.
Great. And I know you have lots of stories about it, about all the testing idea, and I have a question about it at the end of the interview because you have lots of experience about it. And Eric, can you tell us a bit more about your background, please?
Yeah, first of all, my name is Eric, not Jonathan. I actually had to use this Zoom account to start, but okay. Well, I mean, in my career, the common thread has always been education and sort of advising, but it didn't start that way in the beginning. I sort of discovered this path by accident. My studies in university were biology and chemistry, and I had planned on a path in the medical fields. And it was only by starting my master's degree that I really discovered I hate blood, and I can't work in medicine and be a doctor as I planned. So I had to really rethink and make a change because this was not going to happen. And I thought about education. I decided to get a master's degree in education, but in parallel, I also worked in the admissions office at this school. It was called Long Island University here in Long Island, New York. And I really discovered that I loved working with students, consulting, advising, guiding, and the sales aspect was also quite interesting, and the travel. I worked there for 2 years, and then I migrated over into student life, where I was working not with people to come into the university, but students that were already there. And most of them were leaders. They were like presidents of the student associations and really active in their community, but didn't necessarily have the skills to run their organizations. So it was coaching and advising there as well. And I did that for a number of years, but at the same time, I wasn't having the travel that I really liked. And that's when I decided to move to Europe. I first moved to Barcelona about 12 years ago. And that's when I started teaching English. I did that with the locals as well as in Sydney, Australia, the following year with immigrants from Thailand and Lebanon and China. Like I said, education has always been the common thread. And then finally, I moved to Paris about 10 years ago. I was first working at Sciences Po and then at ESSEC Business School in various capacities. But all along the way, I had the opportunity to work with people who were looking for something more. And it really started to develop my awareness of how coaching can really help people transform their life. And that's how I ended up where I am now.
I think we have the same opportunities because students especially always ask the same question about life choice, how to start a business and everything. So we are trying to build custom services to help them do that. And I think that's great. And that's what we do also at Devinci Startup. We create the pre-incubator at the Pôle Léonard de Vinci, which is a structure that helps students develop their projects, their startup projects. And it's with Devinci Startup that tonight we organize this conference. And we are always here at the desk when it's not confinement, lockdown. So you can ask us any question about how to build your startups, and we are here to help you do that. So here's for us. And to start, I think the general question is, what is an entrepreneur and what is entrepreneurship, because it's a vague question, and there are so much different profile type of entrepreneur. And I want Frank maybe to answer this question, because among our students tonight, I'm sure this question is asked a lot. So in your opinion, what is an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. This is a very huge question, but to illustrate it, I want to tell you a story about my path, actually. It was in 2017, my first business. A morning, an idea popped in my mind, okay. I told to myself, it would be cool if I could have my breakfast in bed every morning, okay. So what about create a Uber Eats for the breakfast? And instead of jumping on my computer to code my app, the next day I just woke up at 5 a.m. To go buy a croissant, chocolate bread, you know, pain au chocolat, and an orange juice. And I knocked on someone's door to ask her if she was ready to pay 10 euros for my fresh breakfast. Okay. So I did this operation for like 10 people in the same morning, and 4 of them said yes. Okay. 4 of them paid the breakfast. So this was my MVP, my minimum viable product. You know, my MVP was me, actually, was me and my bike, not an app or a website, because I wanted to be sure that I could interest people before coding anything or develop anything. So 4 out of 10 people was enough for me to continue this project. So I asked a friend to join me on this project. We code the website to receive the orders, and we deliver. You know, food delivery is very, very hard, like very hard. Just keep that in mind, please, because yes, it was very hard, and we did that for 8 months until we realized that we had no growth, absolutely no organic growth. The amount of our clients was directly caused by our ads, our Facebook ads, and not by word of mouth. We changed the price, we changed the product, the target, the user experience, but nothing worked. So no growth, that's it. So we stopped. And now, today, I understand why I failed this. Just because I wasn't solving any problem. People is okay to eat their own breakfast in the morning. This is not a pain. Like I was just testing an idea and not solving a problem. So that's the point. Please, all guys, try to solve a problem. Never try to come up with an idea. Like never. A problem is not debatable. You know, an idea is totally debatable. So for me, an entrepreneur is someone who loves to solve problems. An entrepreneur is someone who deeply loves what he does, okay? And it's like an obsession. He just cannot go to bed until his problem is not solved. Like, and that's why an entrepreneur is a warrior, actually, because he's fighting a problem and with passion. You know, he lives for that. So that's my answer for this question. I think this entrepreneur is a warrior.
I think you're totally right. An entrepreneur is a person who solves a problem. So don't try to come up with a great idea that will change the world. Come up with a real problem to solve, and then you will have the best startups ideas. And to I don't know, to point out what you are saying, always do something you are passionate about. So try to find a problem in your entourage, in your hobbies, in the stuff you do every day, and you will of course find problems to that. And when you have a problem as an engineer, because we did the same studies with Frank, you have to come up with many solutions, and that is why you have to test different business ideas. And I think that's very interesting. So you have to come up with a problem.
Yes, please, yes.
That's right. I have a question for Eric. After many years working in higher education, you decided to launch Candidate.coach. And I want to know really what made you take this step, and what made you take this decision to become yourself an entrepreneur?
I would say, I mean, it was honestly a natural progression for me, because it was what I was already doing in the roles that I had before, kind of on the side. You know, I was there, like my most recent role at ESSEC Business School, I was the director of recruitment for the MBA program. And in the process of selling ESSEC Business School, so to speak, of promoting ESSEC Business School, I was doing a lot of coaching along the way. So I was working with, you know, people who were applicants, but also current students, as well as alumni. Alumni, I would keep relationships with them, and they were very interested in what I had to say. I had so many connections all over the world. So people who might be looking for a job in this field, I knew someone that had an opportunity, and I would make those connections. So that's kind of what I was doing unofficially anyway. Beyond that, I was also traveling a lot. Like, I think it was at the point where I was like 50 or 60% of the time on the road. And as much as I love traveling, it was too much. Like, I was starting to like go crazy. So it got to the point where I said, you know what, I need to go out on my own so I can construct my professional life the way I want it to be. I think I spent enough time working for other companies or other people, and I learned a lot of things along the way. I mean, no regrets. It was the best training ever. But I, at that point, knew what I wanted to. I knew what I wanted my life to be like, and I didn't want to accept the parameters defined by another company or another person. So that was a lot of the motivation to wanting to have more control. But everything that I learned along the way and all my experiences before that really shaped my knowledge base and skill set. And then it's really about the courage to do it. So taking that leap, you know, when you feel like, okay, now is the time. You get to a certain point and you think it's now or never. You know, and I think that was all of that combined was the motivation for me.
I know when you become an entrepreneur, you are willing to take some risks that other people might not take. So that makes you one of a kind, I think. And I think, yeah, one of the most motivation to build your startups, I think for students, is to be your own boss and to handle your planning the way you want to handle it and not working for someone. So I think it's a good transition with the status of Diana, because Diana is an entrepreneur, but a micro entrepreneur. So we talked about startups. We talk about you worked as an employee in a company and then you create your own business, but there is an in-between, and the in-between is the micro entrepreneur as you use it, is to work in a company that could not maybe hire full-time, and you want to be free and work for this company. Mm-hmm. So I think, especially today with the crisis we are living, there is this in between where you can use your entrepreneur status to work for others. So can you tell us a bit more about it, Diana, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I you know, it's started as a necessary stuff, and then I think it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I wasn't as brave as Frank or Eric in certain ways. I was very happy in my little bubble of working for companies and having a social benefit and so on to that. However, life is changing. And I think also one of the fact of being an entrepreneur is that you are willing to change and you are willing to, you know, go with the flow or go with the tide and change yourself as well. And while I would have never imagined in my life that I'm going to become an entrepreneur, today it's really an easy thing to do. And I would have never have this opportunity that I have today if I don't, you know, take a leap of faith or take a deep breath and start to do what I do. Setting up myself as a micro entrepreneur actually wasn't that difficult. I was very much afraid of it, how it's going to look like, how much I will need to pay as taxes, you know, am I going to be able to have benefits and you know, what's going to happen to me if I get fired, for example. And then after I realized, wait a second, I'm an entrepreneur now, I can never be fired because actually I have a company, you know, and I'm working for someone. So slowly but surely you start to change your mindset with it. And actually finding opportunities, especially within the current situation that we are all facing and we are all living, when interesting positions are not necessarily, you know, available if you want to be a full-time worker, but it can be absolutely reachable for you as a micro entrepreneur like myself as well, because companies are much more, you know, into just hiring you as a consultant, having you, on a contract basis. So actually it was a really, really, really good decision. I wasn't really, you know, brave about it in the beginning, but really it's a great thing to do. And it's very, very, very refreshing and very enriching. and gives you so much strength. And as Frank was saying, in the end of the day, you kind of feel like a very, well, in my case, most like an Amazon, but you know, it's kind of really, really a great thing to do that.
Yeah, that's what I did when I finished my studies too. And about that, I want to know, Frank, when is the best time to become an entrepreneur? Do you have an advice on it or suggestions? It's like what to do, when to do it, how you can start being an entrepreneur?
Actually, the answer is very simple. You have to create your own business when you want to do that. Point, like period. You know, entrepreneurship is not it's a consequence for me. You are not entrepreneur because you want to be an entrepreneur. You're entrepreneur because you are entrepreneur. So my advice is find a problem, be obsessed by solving it. You don't know what to do, focus on your patients, try to identify your patients, because you need to find something that is not an effort for you, because business is hard, the market is hard. If you are counting your hours, you are dead, like, you know. So and if you are not ready to go for it, don't go for it. It's okay. Just find a job, take experiences, be inspired by people around you, and maybe a day you will create your own business. I don't know, but it's a consequence. Okay, so there is no best time to create a business, to be an entrepreneur. I think you go when you want to go, when you feel that you can go now. You know, and the question of the market, of the product, of the problem, is just a thing that will come after that. You know, look into your patients and into your motivation, and then try to find a problem. Yep.
Because I always tell that when you are a student, you don't have that much responsibilities. So it's a good way to try test it during your studies, because you always have time to do it. Oh, it depends on which year you are, but you have lots of times, lots of resources you can take in at your school. We have at the Pôle Léonard de Vinci, when it will reopen, we have a Fab Lab, we have people, and it's your first networking entourage that will help you create your business. So you have to take the opportunities where they are, and we have lots of offer to you. And Eric, I want to know, what are the main needs of the students contacting you with candidate coach?
It's actually not only students, it's people of all different ages. Sometimes they're people who are currently in school, who are anticipating they're entering the workforce, and they're looking to look as attractive as possible to recruiters, maybe amping up their resume or CV, or working on their LinkedIn page. Sometimes it's recent graduates who are really in the search process, and maybe they've been feeling a bit stuck, and they want that boost. But it's also people of any age, you know, in their 30s, 40s, even 50s. I have met people who are looking to transform something. Often it's about, like I said, helping with their CV. Okay, getting it in the right structure, in a format that's more beautiful or more readable, something that's more effective. Because, you know, you have that 5-second rule. You know, if the recruiter cannot understand who you are in the first few seconds, it's finished. You know, so having something that has that impact. But sometimes it's even more basic than that. People sometimes know they are unhappy where they are. They want to make a change, but they can't quite figure out. And that's when I do something called career diagnostic. I will sit down with them. I ask a lot of questions. I do a lot of listening, and I mirror back what people say to them in maybe a different way to help them see, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. And then we together construct a plan, like to have a concrete plan to take the next step to transform themselves. But yeah, beyond that, a lot of people are looking to work on interview skills, especially when it's a job abroad. You know, they might be having a job at an international company in another country, and it's going to be in English. And there's a different skill set maybe that they would use than in France. I know most of the people with us today are French or studying in France, and they want to have more insight on how to approach the interview in English and how to sell themselves. That's another thing I feel that French people are a little bit timid compared to Americans, which is where I come from, in terms of promoting themselves. How to say, hey, I've done this or that but not to sound arrogant, you know? So it's a fine line to get that balance. Also, other people, they don't want to have the one-to-one coaching. They prefer to be more independent, which is also why I decided to publish a book. So some people prefer this format and have the more independent approach. And the book is specifically about MBAs, doing an MBA in France. So that's another option if people want to have more independent approach.
Thanks. And I have a question, because you talked about the difference of mindsets. So let's talk about failure, please. You are an American entrepreneur who started a business in France. I know there are lots of differences about mindsets, especially about failure. So what is your opinion about it?
A lot of people say that that maybe it's easier or somehow to fail as an American. I don't know. I mean, I don't say that it's exactly easy. I don't say that it's easier for us, but maybe in the United States, we have cultivated a culture where it's okay to fail. It doesn't have to be shameful. I think maybe in some countries, especially in Asia, there's a lot of shame associated with failure. And maybe France is somewhere in between, like Asia and the United States. But I think if you look at anyone, almost anyone who's been hugely successful, they've had many failures before they got there. And I think the culture in the US has maybe embraced that idea a little bit more readily, or maybe earlier. I think it's coming though. I think I see a change. You know, but it's super important to understand that failure is part of the game. You know, I don't know if you talked to Frank or Diana what their story is, but maybe the first thing that they tried didn't work, and they say, okay, well, if that didn't work, what can I change? And you make some modification, and then you try again, and you have to try again and again and again. You know, I think most successful entrepreneurs have a similar story. It's very rare that you have somebody who had the luck or the genius to have a huge success with the first thing that they tried.
I think most of the self-made men doing TEDx and conferences, and women, they always talk about their failure. Yeah. So I think we've all been through it, and I think we should congratulate failure as a better way to learn from it. And I think that's the great mindset. And as Frank said at the beginning of the presentation, he told us about his startup delivering croissant, and he stopped it. So I think there is this in between where you can talk about it with fun after it, and said, okay, that is why I failed, and this is why I will never fail again about it. And it's I don't know how you say it in English, sorry. It's like close to the fake it until you make it motto, I think. It's because today we have digital ways, digital services that help you test before you even have the product or the service ready. So there is this in between where you can fail very quick. You can sell a business before even having the business created, and then you can fail fast. And it's all about the MVP trying to have a pivot and everything. So I think Frank is a good person to talk about failure. So do you have a story about failure, except the croissant delivery, or what you learned from it, or what can you tell us about it?
Failure is a main part of the entrepreneurship. Actually, you need to be wrong to be right. You know, like it's okay to be wrong, even in the life, in a daily life. You know, when you are wrong, it's okay because you can only be right by being wrong. So we have to be okay with that. Okay, so failure is inévitable. J'ai pas le mot là.
Inevitable.
Voilà, merci, thank you. And failure is all businesses, like Au Pyjama, the name of my breakfast food delivery is a big failure, and without that I could not be what I am today. So clearly, and in France it's very hard, like you said, Eric, to be okay. People are very judging failure, etc., etc., and the worst is when people think bad about you. They will be very nice with you, and with other people they will say, oh, this guy is an idiot, and they will fail. He will fail. No. But in the US, this is completely the opposite. Like people will say, you are very bad, you have to fail, you are not smart, etc. But beside, when they talk to other people, they will say this guy is awesome, because this guy is okay to be wrong. So please, you need to trust him. And I like this mindset, you know, and we need really that in France, particularly in entrepreneurship. Yes, clearly. Yeah.
Thanks, Frank.
And if I may add, sorry, I know I'm not supposed to, but I just can't help it. You know, also someone failing, you know, I failed in France as a foreigner. And I think it's also very important, because we have so many foreign people, hopefully watching us today, that it doesn't, you know, you shouldn't be ashamed, as it was mentioned, but you also shouldn't be defined by a failure. And then people would start to tell you, oh, because it's, you know, you are a foreigner or something like that. You should totally not listen to people who are negative in your life. I think it's a very important lesson that I learned myself as well, that, you know, we are surrounded by so many people who give us so many advices. And in the moment of failure, you're only supposed to listen to you know, whether it's a podcast, whether it's people that you know that they are smart and you know, they have the positive mindset. I think it's also extremely important that, you know, as an entrepreneur launching yourself, you only try to surround yourself with people who are supporting you on your journey and giving you positive vibes around that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Mainly say something as well. The question about the difference between the United States and France, I think it's really important to recognize the benefit you have of trying to start something up in France. I've heard a lot of French people complain about France and say, oh, the United States is more, let's say, welcoming to entrepreneurs. They think of Silicon Valley as some kind of paradise for starting up a company. But you have to really recognize the huge benefit you have of starting something up in France, where you have a social security system that allows you to have a medical coverage, and your life is really okay, you know, and you can have more, you have the opportunity to take the risk to start a company and allow it to fail, as we are speaking about right now, and fail several times before you finally have a success. And I think that's super important to be appreciative of, that in France you have a really good system and a really generous system and situation for starting up a company. I wanted to just say that, sorry.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And I know lots of dispositif that can help you have these helps from the state. So if you would like to know more about it, send me an email. I wrote my email address in the chat. I will tell you, I will rewrite it in the chat at the end of this interview, because I know lots of stuff that can help you with the money, with the mentorish, how do you say, mentorat, people helping you develop your business. And I know lots about it with Julien, so we can help you. And about that, Diana, what are the advantages and disadvantages between being an employee, being an entrepreneur in your daily life? Did you have troubles at the beginning? Did you have struggles?
Yes and no. As I mentioned, one of the main difference for me going from an employee to being an entrepreneur is the safety net in a certain way. Because when you are working within a structure, I think it's not necessarily a realistic safety, but you think that, you know, you have a boss that you report to. So if you make a wrong decision, then somebody else is going to take it, or you have the social benefits being paid by someone else, the company, or you have the unemployment fee if you lose your job or something. So we have all these sort of fake safety nets when we are working for a company. However, as soon as you step outside and you become an entrepreneur, you also realize that if anything, you were sort of, I'm sorry for the word, but you were just caged and not necessarily in a safe environment. And being an entrepreneur, it really opens you the door to you know, for freedom, to think, step differently, to be, you know, the limit is only yourself. Nobody is really going to tell you you're doing it right or wrong. It's the market or your clients that are going to tell you whether, or giving you the feedback whether what you are doing is right or wrong. And actually, as I mentioned, the limit is only yourself. So for me, that's one of the big things from my perspective. Now, on my everyday life, what I'm doing right now, I'm helping people to start their life and start their companies through French connections where I'm working right now. And I see people from different countries, all different type of generations, and they are giving up their life saying the same thing, you know, that when I work for a company, it's nice, but actually I have limitations. And as soon as I can start to do something else, and it's not necessarily as the guys were mentioning, it's not because you have a groundbreaking idea, but because you have a solution and nobody else is listening to that solution. So then you just go out there and do it yourself and you know, provide that solution. And then people are starting to react to it, and you have more and more people. And the beauty of it is that, of course, we all know how to use social media and so on to you know, promote ourselves. But as soon as you are providing a right solution to a problem, people are starting to recommend you and starting to invite you to webinars and things like that, to, you know, to be able to share the solution that you have for the problem. So actually it's a whole different world. And while I was working in a company, I would have never imagined that the world is so wild and so open. So I'm super happy to being outside of it and being this part of it now.
And congratulations for that. We have lots of questions in the chat, so I'm trying to answer them. I think it's a question for all of you, but with this crisis we are living, is it a good moment to start and launch your own company? Is it not too dangerous?
If I can, because I did, technically during the first lockdown, I can say that it's actually a really great opportunity, because with all restrictions there is always solutions that are coming. So you just need to listen to them and need to find those solutions. And as I mentioned, for example, as a micro entrepreneurship, setting yourself up as a micro entrepreneur that, for example, we can help you with, it's something that definitely gives the solution or the bridge for companies who don't have the means to hire you on full time, but they can hire you for very interesting projects. And actually, even the company that where I am, you know, working as an entrepreneur, as a consultant with, we have students who finished the university studies joining our company, because it's an amazing, you know, way to start and try yourself out as an entrepreneur as well when you are working as an outsider to a company. So I think it's the right time to do that.
Yeah, for me as well, the timing worked out perfectly. I mean, I actually planned on going down this path and starting the company before the crisis, but just before. So I had no way of knowing that this pandemic was going to happen, but it ended up working in my favor. At least what I do, coaching people who are looking for a change, so many people had lost their job, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. And so I had people coming to me with this kind of need. So it actually worked out quite well for me. Also, with everything moving online, I mean, people are more ready to communicate and do kind of coaching from distance, or just interacting, jobs in general. You know, companies, especially tech companies like LinkedIn, Twitter, who have even said definitively people can work from home. So there's a shift in our society, in the world, really, and being more flexible and starting your own thing, even if it's in parallel to a job that you're managing to keep, can be a great opportunity to have a secondary income.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it creates a fracture of two worlds, the online world, the world, and the physical world. So it depends of what you want to do. Don't open a physical restaurant today, okay? But it's the best moment to launch an online business. Like, people are on the web, you know, so people are on the social media. You can bring value to them very easily. Like every day they are here. Like, you can consume on TikTok. Everybody is on TikTok. Yeah, you can easily open a business online, especially by using social media every day. Yeah.
Because people are much more on their social media. So
Okay.
this is a way of seeing your users. They are online. So you have a way to reach them. So bring value, as you said, and in a personal way. You are in lockdown, so you are inside your house. You don't see your friends. You don't see, I know it's terrible. I agree. I live the same thing, but you have time to concentrate and develop new skills. So even though you don't want to start your company yet, you can develop new skills that will help you later. So it's two ways of seeing it. Then you have your users that are more accessible. you know, and then you have a you that has time, more time than before to try and launch it. So I think it's great to have some value.
100.
Sorry. Eric, we have a question. I think it's for you in the chat. And it's, what is an attractive CV for you? And what do you look in 5 seconds when you receive a CV?
Well, a CV, I think, has 4 main things that are going to influence it. One is, what is the industry you're applying for? Number 2, what is the region of the world? Like, what country do you live in? That will also impact. What is the role you want? And a bit about your personality. So these 4 things will greatly influence what you put into your CV, how you organize it, everything from the style to the font, la police, and yeah, this kind of stuff. For example, in France, you would usually put the dates on the left. In the US, it would be on the right. You know, these little things. Do you put a picture or not? You know, in some countries, that's very important. In some countries, it's really it's not the right thing to do. Then it needs to be readable. It needs to be organized in such a way that I can look at it and I can get the most important information about it, about you. And yeah, so it's going to be case by case, depending on the job you're applying for, where is the job, and so on. That's why it's important to, I usually tell people, download examples of CVs in your industry. For example, if you're applying for an internship in Sweden in the pharmaceutical industry, you're going to Google internship Sweden pharmaceutical CV, and you're going to see examples, and download 20, 30 of them. You'll start to see a pattern. And this pattern will dictate the more or less the way you should do it. And then you inject your own personal style, and that's the easiest way to tell you. Afterwards, if somebody wants to sit down and really work one-to-one, then we can do that.
I think it's, I can have the analogy in when you are launching a startup, it's you have to analyze your competitors. And if they do things well, take it from them. And if they do things wrong, solve it. And this is how you launch a business most of the time. I think you have to watch what is working for them. You don't have to reinvent the wheel if it's already working and very well. So you can just add a service, and it's a way of doing entrepreneurship too. And we have another question. It's, did you had a plan B when you launch your business? Was it the only way, or did you have a backup plan?
This is for me as well?
Yes, I think so. I think it's for everyone.
Okay.
You can answer it, Eric.
I'll start, I guess, because I'm already speaking. I knew that it was time for me to leave where I was. And this was, the candidate coach business was what I hoped would work. It's pretty new, to be honest. But like I said, I mentioned on the side, I also have been working on a book. So I sort of have these two. The book is a business in a way itself, you know, and it's interesting what you said about solving a problem. As an author, I sort of took that same lesson. You looked to see what was out there, what other books existed on the topic of MBAs in France. And I tried to understand what was working and what was not working. And I tried to solve that problem. I tried to fill the gap of what was missing from those other books. And so in a way, I have launched two businesses in parallel. And so if one is working better than the other, I don't know which is the plan A or B, but yeah. And then as we talked earlier about failure, I'm sure I will encounter things that are not working. I will need to adjust my marketing strategy for the book. I will need to position myself a little bit differently for the coaching. You know, it's still pretty new, and it's a learning process every day.
Thanks. Did you have the plan B, Frank and Diana?
Never.
Never.
No plan B, only plan A.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. I always been told that, you know, if you have a plan B, then you're just going to lose focus from plan A. So I kind of pretty much always went after my head, even when people were saying like it's not the right direction. I always keep like, anyway, I'm going to try it out. So I usually been a plan A type of person.
I love that answer.
Yes, I think all in, you know, you have to put all your energy. And if you have a plan B, it will, I don't know, lessen your energy, you know, you are putting it in. It's that you leave place for failure, and we want success. And this is how you do it. So I think we agree with Frank and Diana on this answer. And we have two questions, so I'm going to put them together. It's about helps from the state to launch your business? Is there a specific help for non-French students to start their business? And I've lost it. And it's about other helps than bank loans. You know, what are the helps in terms of financial help, I think?
Well, I mean, from my experience, but again, that's a very different one because we're mainly focusing on micro entrepreneurship in that sense. You have here in France, as you know, Eric also was saying, like, yeah, you're living in France, so you are so lucky. If you are signing up with the unemployment agency, which is called Pôle Emploi, they do have a plan to help young start-uppers, if I can say that, young entrepreneurs. You also have help when there are European funds existing out there. So depending on what is the type of service that you are choosing for yourself, you can actually have a look to it and get European funds. And then after all the incubators existing around you that are usually for the micro entrepreneurs that are existing. But the guys, I'm sure, can tell you how is it when you are a real entrepreneur.
Of course, and that's why I said, come to see us, book an appointment, because we can tell you everything about it and we have resources to help you. We have a question that Frank really wants to answer about drop shipping, because I know he really likes this question and we all have a different opinion about it. So Frank, what do you think about drop shipping?
Drop shipping is fucking hard, okay? So I tried this some times ago. If the question is about ethically, it's okay. I think just because you sell, you win. People is ready to buy at this price, so it's okay. Market is always right. Okay, if you sell, you're right. If you don't sell, you're wrong. But if you want to do that for an extra money, don't do that. Definitely, please never do that. If it's just for an extra money, you need to experiment very, very much. You need to be a warrior marketer. It's a lot of time, a lot of money to do that. In my opinion, there is easily ways and more pleasant way to execute every day to earn some money. But if you like it, if you like the marketing and you live for this, let's go, let's try. But please keep in mind that it's very fucking hard and you need to be passionate about that. No extra money on this, no.
We had a conference last year with Kevin Tonon, that Frank knows very well too, and he did a conference about dropshipping. So, and he earned a lot of money with it. And so I invite you to see our YouTube conference. It's in French, sorry about for the foreigners, but we can help you translate it maybe later. I don't ask the question in the right order, I'm sorry, but I ask them as I see them. So I will try to read the chat at the same time. It's about the entrepreneurship skills experience on a resume. It's how is it valuable? And if at some point you want to work for a company, is it an advantage to have an entrepreneur background, and how can you sell this skill to recruiters? I don't know who wants to answer, because I've never, maybe Eric, sorry.
Could you repeat it? I'm sorry.
How valuable is the entrepreneur experience on a resume? How can you promote it when you want to work for a regular company?
Sure. I think most of us have heard of the concept of entrepreneurship, right? So it's having an entrepreneurial mindset while working within a big company. I think this idea speaks to people who are more likely to be innovative, to be agile, to be flexible, you know, to adapt as the situations are changing. These days, technology is changing faster than ever. Economies are changing rapidly. We're in kind of uncharted territory with the pandemic. So this kind of mindset, I think, is attractive to employers. In any case, it's a buzzword. So seeing that on a resume is definitely, I think, yeah, it's attractive. Also, as a recruiter for when I was at the business school, seeing on the resume or the CV of someone that they have been an entrepreneur in the past absolutely is attractive. It's somebody who is a risk taker, somebody who is a leader, somebody who is thinking and not afraid to try, who believes in their ideas, who has courage. These are all very positive qualities in anyone. So definitely, yes.
Okay, thanks. It will reassure you, Baptiste, if one day you want to stop your business, but I'm sure you will continue to do it. We have a question from Charles, and it's how to ask your customers if they would be interested in your product or in your service without having your ID stolen, because fear of your ID being stolen is very present. So how to ask your customers? Frank,
I don't know. I mean, honestly, sorry. No, go, Frank, go.
No, please.
Let's go.
No. Okay, so I don't think so. You should be afraid of that your idea is going to get stolen, because there are so many people living in the world in general that it's possible that somebody has the same idea at the same time as you do. It's not necessarily meaning that it's being stolen. What is important is that how good you are in what you are doing, and that's going to make a difference in general. Will you be able to do it better than the other person? What is going to be the extra plus to it? So ideas are still, even if you speak to your friends, ideas can get stolen. It's not a question. But I think the important is that how well you are doing what you are doing, and can you keep up with the competition arising around you?
Yeah, totally agree with you, Diana. I like to say in my talks that the best way to be stolen is by not talking of your ID, because if you don't talk, you don't know what people want. just simply as that. So nobody has the same vision of you. Nobody has the same fight of you. The idea is nothing. The execution is everything. Okay. So nobody will execute like you. So an idea is absolutely nothing about your business.
With a lot of things, they say entrepreneurship, it's 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration, meaning that the idea is a small part of it, but the execution, as we just heard from Frank, is really the biggest part of it. I think a lot of people are afraid about talking about their ideas for a startup because they're afraid of getting the idea stolen. And while that is a risk, I think that the benefit is more outweighed when you have the opportunity to speak about it with people you trust, with friends, maybe colleagues, to develop the idea. And as you speak about it, I think you get some feedback, you may make adjustments, but I think it's a very small possibility that somebody will actually take your idea, run with it, and develop it faster than you. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it's unlikely.
I agree.
Well, sorry.
No,
and sometimes when you see your idea being stolen, it's just actually an affirmation that what you are doing is actually good because somebody wants to do the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. If you don't have any competitors on the market, you should ask yourself many questions, because if nobody did it, maybe you don't have a market or you don't have a real problem. So you should talk about it as much as you can, because it will give you feedback about your project, and you can build it with your users. And as Thierry said in the chat, Facebook got stolen, but it's one business among so much created every year. So it rarely happens. Don't worry, you can talk with trustworthy people and everything. We have a question about partnership. So I think all of you start your business on your own, or do you have any partners?
On my own.
Frank, when you start Au Pyjama, you were with an associate, and maybe you can answer about it. It's how did you build this relationship? How could you find this partnership?
The question of the co-founder is very huge too. I think again, a co-founder is a consequence. We do not have to look for a co-founder. A co-founder is naturally somebody which is very close to you, which is very comprehensive with you, etc. So in my case with Au Pyjama, it was an evidence because we worked together at the family. When I talked about my idea, he directly do the connection. So it was an evidence. It is not a subject, actually, Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a subject. because if you start to look for a co-founder, you will find the wrong person, definitely.
I think I agree. I agree also with everything you say from the start of this conference. But we built our startup with Julien, and the relationship was really natural. He had the idea, I liked it. I joined him as a volunteer and helped them more and more and more. And then I was full time with him. So it was very natural that I became associate in this company. And I think you shouldn't ask yourself too many questions. And if you work well, you should continue. And then you will have all these contracts and lawyers to protect yourself from anything happening. But it's not the point now. You have to work, you have to execute, you have to go fast. So you don't have time to ask yourself any question, and it will become naturally. And as we said, entrepreneurship is worse, association is worse than a marriage. It's because you spend so much time with your partner, your co-founder, that you know him better than anyone. And you have to learn how to work together and be pro-efficient. Like, don't waste time on debates and asking yourself too many questions. You have to go for it and go fast. And sometimes you have to decide which one of you will take the final decision, so it don't take too much time on discussion to execute fast. So you have to build this relationship with your founder. I answered this question because I have a partner in my company. That is why I intervene. We have a question from Jean-Mic, which is a very famous alumni coming to see us in almost every conference. And I think it's very interesting. It's, if you were to restart your university studies, what would you choose? Diana?
Well, I studied business, and then after I worked 14 years for business schools. So definitely, you know, I have that area. But personally, I think, I'm sorry to say that, but it's not everything about the school that you are learning. The school is a great, you know, a hub to give you certain push and certain bases. But I think what is much more important, the people that you surround yourself, whether it's from the school, your professors or your friends, or, you know, life is bringing you. I think the education in general, as an entrepreneur, it comes also from life in so many ways. From my opinion, again, working for business schools and studying business myself as well.
100%. I mean, the school gives you branding. It is a network. But really, it's all about the people. I mean, we are a product of our environment. If we surround ourselves with people who are not very motivated, if they're kind of lazy or not creative, we're not going to be the best we can be. So, as Diana said, it's very much about the people. I totally agree.
The school path doesn't matter very as well. In my opinion, I'm an entrepreneur from an engineering school, so I think it's not natural for me to be an entrepreneur. But today I am. So I wouldn't change anything, I think. Or maybe I could maybe go more on social media and putting more content on it, because people have too negative opinion about social media, I think. And me, I'm the first one. So we need all to put more value on that. And maybe I lost some time because I didn't realize that it's very powerful when I was at school.
Do you think startup with zero investment, like zero money at all, will work? Can you start a business with zero money?
I think you can. Sorry to say that. I really think you can. However, you have to have certain skill sets. And as, for example, Frank was saying, you need to be really, really good with social media and marketing. So you know how to, you know, do candid work on it instead of investing in general. You have to have a really good network that you can actually mobilize in a certain way. And you have to work crazy much, you know, and get good people on board with the right skill set, that willing to invest their time first, and then after, money can follow. So you can, from my experience, you can start it.
Completely. Keep in mind that the most important thing is to bring values to people who need you. The most important is to bring the solution directly without any product. You can do by hand actually. I have an example. I have a small story about that, if I can. 1 month ago, I started to be interested by the trading of Pokemon cards. Okay, and I just realized that the market is fucking huge. Like, and people are so exciting about that. So, and me too, actually, because it's all my childhood, so it's fun, you know. And so I went to Facebook. I have no product, no app. Okay, I went to Facebook. I joined some Facebook groups about Pokemon trading cards, and I realized that so many people were asking about estimation of their cards. How much is it? How rare is it, etc. So after some weeks of researching, I was able to estimate cards by watching marketplaces, by learning how to recognize editions, etc. So today I'm able to bring an answer to this problem, the estimation problem. So by hand, I do all of that. No MVP, no faking landing page about a possible app or whatever. I already can today bring a solution to this problem. So yes, I can create my business just by doing this, you know, and I can be paid for that. So the next question is, am I being erased? Like, am I being the one we need to talk to have a card estimation? If so, I need to scale my business. You know, so this growth is proving me that I have now a business. People needs me, so now let's scale. And now we can talk about an application, a website, and algorithms to be able to answer to everybody. You know, so yes, it's clearly possible thanks to the social media.
And I think to add something more, you should start with zero, because when you have nothing, this is the best way to be very creative on how to do it. When you have no money, you should be so creative about how to do it. And I think it joins the notion of MVP, the minimum valuable product. There is many ways to test an idea, and what brings value is the users you have, the number of users, the data collected, or stuff like this. And usually I say, when you have an idea, you can try and test it on a Facebook group, on a questionnaire, on a newsletter, on a personalized email. You have many ways to test your idea without having the money to build today the platform you will have in, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. And when you have all this data, all these users that are willing to come to you, as Frank said, you have the power to negotiate and said, okay, I have 30,000 people interested in my Pokemon estimation cards. What can we do about it? And this is your leverage, like how you can find business angels, fundings, bank loans, everything will come with it. And people, you can find co-founders like this, that they are like, okay, I want to help you. I want to take my part of the cake and I want to join you. And this is how you gather people around your project. So I think it's a great way. If you build something that's a product, a prototype, it's a different approach than a platform or a service. And I welcome you to come to the Pôle Léonard de Vinci, because we have lots of students willing to help you build the things you want to build. In the pre-incubator Devinci Startup, we have impression 3D, 3D impression, a Fab Lab. We have a technical Fab Lab also with lots of machines. And if you want to build your first prototype, we have stuff to do it at the Pôle. And if we don't have it, ask us and we'll find a way to help you do that. And we have students at the Fab Lab that are here to help you. So if it's a service, you have the creativity to build it from zero. And if it's a product, we are here to help. And I hope we can reopen soon. I hope in January or February, and we are welcoming you to come see us. I'm trying to take the questions in the chat, and we have many questions. I think one that is very frequent is, what is your best advice before launching a startup? Can you tell us, I don't know, 2 or 3 of your best advice to launch a startup?
3?
As much as one, 3, I think it's a good way. 3, it's...
Okay, patience, social media, execution.
Diana, do you have 3 advice?
I have to agree with Franco. My three list, I have patience and social media, definitely. And I would also add like self-esteem in certain ways, to, believe in yourself. I don't even know how to say that properly in English, but like it's really important that you believe in yourself.
And
yeah, first I would maybe quote Steve Jobs, and he's famously said, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." If you're hungry, you have to make it happen. You have to make your idea work. You're motivated because you're hungry. You need to eat. Stay foolish. When you're young, you're creative, you're open-minded, you'll do maybe something that's crazy that everyone tells you will never work, but you'll do it anyway. And that's what I think he means by stay foolish. The third thing I would say is fail efficiently. We talked about failure before. To fail efficiently means that you don't get so weighed down by the heavy emotion that comes with failure. We are human. And when we fail, it's going to feel bad. We're going to feel stupid. We're going to feel weak. We're going to feel foolish. But the quicker you can say, okay, that was a mistake, and you analyze what needs to be fixed, you make the change, and then you go again and again and again. That's what I mean by fail efficiently. And I think that is one of the best lessons you can learn in entrepreneurship.
Okay, thanks. I think we'll take the last question. So if you have in the chat the one question to ask, don't hesitate, because we'll come to the end of this interview. And I want to tell something, because we had a remark in the chat. It's that first of all, you have to get money to build the first capital of your startup. And this leads me to the legal procedures on how to build a startup. And I think you should not have a legal status until you test your idea. So this is my opinion. Do you agree? What could you add more about what I said?
Definitely be focused on the problem. Don't be focused on the juridic thing. The juridic thing will come after the product market fit, okay? When you are sure that this is viable, because if you don't do that, this is a lack of time. This is a
waste of time.
Yes, thank you. Waste of time. So please be just focused on your execution, and nobody will put you in prison. It's okay. Okay. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's that first you have to test your idea, find your users, and then the legal questions will apply. And we are here to help also at Devinci Startup to help you with your procedures and how to do it, because you have many ways. First, you can become a micro entrepreneur, which is a status that allows you not to have that many taxes, and it can help you start at the beginning. Don't you think, Diana?
Well, I mean, a micro-entrepreneurship status helps you in so many ways, because yes, you do pay in the first year some reduced taxes. After, no, not anymore. However, definitely, you functioning as a company. The only thing is that you cannot hire people around you. So, but you are invoicing people. You can receive invoice as well, and you can work together with a group of people in general. It's just meaning that you sort of like a one-man show in that sense. But generally, it really does function in the same way as any other status would work. The only thing is that, which is important, and because that's what I do on a daily basis, I register people for this status. It's important that when you are a foreigner in the country, you have to have the resident permit of the country to be able to register. That's the only criteria that they have.
Okay, thanks for the info. I didn't know you should have the resident permit.
Yeah.
So
I mean, unless, of course, if we are a European within another European country, it's different. But
we have a question of Vilmaraj. It's how should we brainstorm our startup idea? Should we do it alone, with other people? How can you do it? And I think I can modify this question. It should we brainstorm our problems? Because as we said, it's not about the startup idea, but the problems you want to solve.
talk to your target, talk to your market. This is the only point. You can talk with your family, you can talk with your friends, you can, it's okay. All these people will bring some love to you and will be okay for all you are doing. But be careful, okay? Be careful. Don't listen people who is not your target. Okay, because this is not them which has a credit card, you know.
They will, I think your family and friends especially, they will always be supportive. If you have good friends, I mean, Diana, not to have a great entourage and that supports you, it's that they will always say, go on, it's a great idea and everything, but they are not, especially your target, are paying for it. So the brainstorming must be done with your potential clients. I think it's the most important things. We have a question from Alim, but I don't really understand it. So if you can precise it, it's what is self-development for Diana, Eric, and Frank? So I don't really know what self-development is. So maybe one of you understands this question.
But does he mean like how self-development can happen when you are an entrepreneur, or how was it for us, you know, in our journey?
You can answer it as you like, Diana.
Yes,
well, then go for it, Eric.
She writes, or yes, he writes.
You, on your journey, what is self-development for you with your journey as an entrepreneur, as entrepreneurs?
I mean, for me, I read a lot. Magazines about entrepreneurship, websites. I talk to people. I try to find people who inspire me. Sometimes it's about information and facts. Sometimes it's about, yeah, like I said, being inspired. So, you know, you're getting that motivation to go on when things are difficult, when you're kind of out there in the unknown, in the outer space. And it's like, okay, you're trying this thing, is it going to work? And it gives you confidence. And I think confidence really is everything, no matter what we're talking about. Confidence can transform the impact that your idea will have.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, I love to be inspired by people, especially by entrepreneurs. So I read, I watch YouTube video about that, and I upgrade with that. So my mindset is from that. My mindset is only from inspiration. So I think that the only thing that can inspire people is people. So I think really that an entrepreneur has to be inspired by people.
Yeah, I fully agree. I keep going back to being inspired by people in general as well. You know, like for example, for me, it's a very lucky example. The guy who created French Connections that I'm working for these days, he's one of the best entrepreneurs that I know. He's super young. He's only 33. Extremely successful and has great ideas and like, you know, like a mentor. He's keep telling me every day, like, listen to this one, read that one, think differently. And so sometimes, again, going back to what Frank said as well, people can really change the way you are thinking. So for example, the person that I'm working for today as a micro entrepreneur definitely changed the way that I am thinking and help with my self-development, to be braver, to be more open-minded, to be completely open about changes, to welcome changes, to not to be afraid, because when you're working in a structure, you are actually kind of afraid because that's the only thing, but you know, the four walls around you. So again, people.
Thank you for your answers. I totally agree. I think the questions are over. So I want to thank you one last time for coming here and share with us all your experiences. And if all of you here tonight want to go further, okay, Charles, we are waiting for you for your last question. If you want to go further, don't hesitate. Feel free to contact us. I put our email address of Julien and me. And if you want to be to have the contact of Diana, Frank, or Eric, I'm sure we can manage to arrange if you have specific questions that are not answered tonight. And if they come to you in the middle of the night, like, I have a new startup idea, I want to talk about it. So there we are to help you answer it. So thank you very much for sharing tonight. Thank you everyone here for participating to this conference. You have lots of thanks in the chat. Can we have your LinkedIn? I think I put it in the event, in the presentation of the event. You have the LinkedIn links. Of course, I will send you the replay for this conference to everyone with the LinkedIn of Frank, Diana, and Eric. So you can find all the infos there. Very inspirational, empowering. People are very happy with your sharing.
Well, thank you so much for sticking with us this evening.
Yes, thank you very much. And see you next time for our next conference.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Fun.
It was great.
Yeah, great.
Bye-bye.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.